Late one evening, as the city lights shimmered through the towering skyline, Olivia Carter sat in front of her laptop, staring at the blank document on her screen. She had spent years chasing stories, uncovering truths that others preferred to keep hidden. But tonight was different. This time, she wasn't just an observer. She was part of the story. And the truth she had uncovered threatened to shake everything she believed in. Just 15 days ago, Olivia had married Alexander Hayes, a billionaire real estate tycoon known for his charm, power, and success. Their whirlwind romance had been nothing short of a fairy tale. From candlelit dinners at exclusive restaurants to spontaneous weekend getaways in private jets, Alex had made her feel like the most important person in the world. He was everything she had never expected: kind, attentive, and deeply in love with her. At least that's what she thought. Olivia had always been skeptical of fairy tales. As a journalist, she had built her career on questioning the narratives that looked too perfect. But when Alex entered her life, she let her guard down. He wasn't just a story, he was her husband. She convinced herself that, for once, she didn't need to dig for hidden truths. But some secrets refused to stay buried. The first sign came subtly, just a whisper of doubt. A phone call Alex took in the middle of the night, his voice low and urgent. The way his expression darkened when she asked about his past. The locked study in their mansion that he told her was off limits. At first, Olivia ignored the warnings, dismissing them as paranoia. She wanted to trust him. She needed to trust him. Then one evening, everything changed. Alex had left for a business meeting, and Olivia found herself wandering through their sprawling home, her mind restless. She had never been the kind of woman to ignore her instincts, and something about Alex's behavior in the last few days felt wrong. As she stood in front of the locked study door, her pulse quickened. It wasn't just a room, it was a question waiting to be answered. With trembling hands, she reached for the key she had seen him use earlier, her heart pounding as she slipped it into the lock. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit space filled with shelves of files, photographs, and documents. Olivia stepped inside, her journalist's instincts taking over as she scanned the room. Then she saw it, a single file lying open on the desk, as if someone had left it there in a hurry. Her breath caught as she read the name on the first page. Her name. Beneath it were details of her past, her career, her family, and then a section that sent chills down her spine. It wasn't just about her, it was about why Alex had chosen her. Olivia's hands shook as she flipped through the pages, each word unraveling the truth she had been too blind to see. The man she had married wasn't just keeping a secret. He had been planning something all along. And now she was right in the middle of it. Olivia's breath felt heavy as she flipped through the pages, her fingers gripping the edges of the file. The words blurred together, but the meaning was clear. Alex had been watching her long before they had even met. Every major article she had written, every investigation she had pursued, even the people she had exposed, it was all here, carefully documented. But why? Her mind raced back to the day she first met Alex. It was at a charity gala, one she had reluctantly attended on her editor's request. He had approached her with effortless confidence, his piercing blue eyes locking onto hers as if he already knew her. She had assumed it was simple attraction, but now she couldn't ignore the possibility that it had been something else, something planned. She scanned the rest of the file, searching for answers, but what she found only deepened her fear. Among the neatly stacked documents, there were photographs of her, some taken in public places, others in moments when she had been completely unaware. A cold chill ran down her spine as she realized the unsettling truth. Someone had been following her, watching her, and Alex had known all along. Her fingers trembled as she reached for another document. It was a list of names, some she recognized from her past investigations, politicians, businessmen, even law enforcement officials. At the bottom next to her name was a single word: leverage. A sharp knock at the front door made her jump. She quickly closed the file and stepped back from the desk, her pulse hammering in her ears. Was it Alex? Had he come back early? She pressed her hands against the cool wood of the desk, trying to steady her breathing. The knock came again, firmer this time. She hesitated, then walked toward the door, her steps slow and cautious. Through the peephole, she saw a man in a dark suit, his face unreadable. Olivia's instincts screamed at her to stay silent, to pretend she wasn't home. But before she could decide, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw Alex's name flashing on the screen. For a moment, she just stared at it, fear twisting in her stomach. She knew that whatever was happening, whatever truth she had just stumbled upon, she was already in too deep. And now she had to figure out if the man she had married was the person she thought he was, or if he was someone far more dangerous. Olivia's heart pounded as she silenced her phone, her mind spinning with possibilities. Why was Alex calling her now? And who was the man at the door? She took a step back, gripping the phone tightly, debating whether to answer. The knocking stopped, and for a brief second, there was silence. Then the sound of footsteps fading down the hall. Whoever he was leaving. But would he come back? She turned her focus back to the file on the desk. There had to be more, something that explained why Alex had been keeping such detailed record. She carefully flipped through the pages again, scanning for clues. Then buried beneath the papers, she found a letter. Unlike the other documents, this wasn't typed. It was handwritten, the ink slightly smudged, as if it had been read and handled too many times. You need to make sure she never finds out. If she does, everything we've worked for will fall apart. Olivia's hands shook as she reread the words. Who had written this? And more importantly, what was she not supposed to find out? Her phone buzzed again. Another call from Alex. This time she answered. Olivia, his voice was calm, too calm. Where are you? She hesitated. Home. A pause, then, I'm on my way. Don't open the door for anyone. The line went dead before she could respond. Her grip tightened around the phone. He knew. Somehow he knew she had been inside his study. Her mind raced through everything she had just uncovered. If Alex had been keeping these secrets from her, how far would he go to keep them buried? She didn't have time to think. She needed answers before he got back. She turned her attention to his computer, the screen dark but still warm to the touch. He had been using it recently. Without hesitation, she pressed the power button. The screen flickered to life, and her stomach clenched as the desktop loaded. Dozens of encrypted folders, documents labeled with initials and numbers. And in the center of the screen, a single open file. She clicked on it, her breath catching as she read the first few lines. This wasn't just about her. This was about something much bigger, something dangerous. And now she was right in the middle of it. Olivia's pulse raced as she skimmed through the document on Alex's computer. The text was dense, filled with coded references and financial transactions. At first glance, it looked like business dealings, but something felt off. She clicked through the files, her fingers trembling as she uncovered patterns. Real estate projects linked to offshore accounts, sudden disappearances of individuals tied to controversial land deals, and a name she recognized from one of her past investigations. Her breath hitched. Senator Malcolm Reed. Months ago, she had written an expose on the senator's involvement in illegal land acquisitions. The case had gone cold, but now, staring at these documents, she realized why. Someone had buried the truth, and Alex, her own husband, was right at the center of it. A car door slammed outside. Olivia's head snapped up. She rushed to close the files, her hands moving faster than her mind. She barely had time to log out before the front door opened. Alex stepped in, his face unreadable. His eyes swept the room, lingering just a second too long on the study door. I told you not to open the door for anyone, he said quietly. Olivia forced a tight smile. No one came. Alex's jaw tensed as he set down his coat. Are you sure? She nodded, hoping he wouldn't notice how stiffly she stood, how her hands were clenched at her sides. Why? Who was supposed to come? He exhaled, stepping closer. No one you need to worry about. His tone was casual, but his gaze was sharp, as if he were studying her, searching for something. Her heart pounded. He knew, maybe not everything, but enough to be suspicious. Come sit with me, he said, gesturing toward the living room. We need to talk. Olivia hesitated. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to get out before it was too late, but she forced herself to stay calm. If she acted scared, he would know. She followed him, her mind racing. She needed a plan. She needed a way out. But most of all, she needed to know the truth before it was too late. Because one thing was clear. Whatever secret Alex was hiding, it wasn't just dangerous, it was deadly. Olivia sat across from Alex, her pulse thudding in her ears. His expression was calm, but there was something different in his eyes, an intensity that made her stomach twist. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees, his fingers interlocked. "You're hiding something from me," he said, his voice measured. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "What are you talking about?" Alex studied her for a moment, then sighed. "I've spent my life controlling outcomes, Olivia, making sure everything runs exactly as planned." He paused, tilting his head slightly. "But you're unpredictable. That's what I liked about you." Her throat tightened. He was testing her, trying to see if she would break. She had to stay in control. "I don't understand. Why are you saying this?" Alex leaned back, exhaling as if disappointed. "Because I know you went into my study." A chill shot through her. He knew. Her mind raced for an explanation, something that wouldn't set him off. "I was looking for a pen," she said quickly. "I needed to write something down, and—" He chuckled, but there was no warmth in it. "Don't lie to me, Olivia." Her heart pounded. He wasn't just suspicious. He was certain. And if he knew she had seen those files, then he also knew she was now a threat. He stood up slowly, adjusting the cuffs of his sleeves. "You should have just stayed out of it." Olivia's breath caught. "What does that mean?" Before he could answer, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his jaw tightening. Without another word, he stepped away and answered. "Yeah?" A pause. "Not yet. I'll take care of it." She froze. Take care of it. Her entire body went cold. He was talking about her. The moment he turned his back, she grabbed her phone and typed out a message to her former editor. "I have information. If anything happens to me, check Alex's files." She hit send just as Alex turned back around. He pocketed his phone and gave her a long, unreadable look. "Change of plans. We're going for a drive." She forced herself to stay still, to keep breathing. Whatever was about to happen, she had to be ready, because now it wasn't just about uncovering the truth. It was about surviving it. Olivia's fingers trembled as she slid her phone into her pocket, her mind racing. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she knew Alex was watching her closely. If she made one wrong move, she might not get another chance. Alex grabbed his keys and motioned toward the door. "Let's go." She forced herself to nod, keeping her breath steady as she followed him outside. The night air was crisp, but a cold sweat clung to her skin. He opened the passenger door of his sleek black car, waiting for her to get in. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears as she slid inside, her mind calculating every possible escape. As soon as he started driving, she realized they weren't heading toward the city. The streets became emptier, the buildings fewer. They were leaving town. "Where are we going?" she asked, forcing her voice to stay calm. Alex didn't answer right away. His hands gripped the wheel tightly. "Somewhere private? We need to talk without distractions." A chill ran through her. She had seen enough crime reports to know what that meant. She reached for her phone, but before she could unlock it, Alex grabbed it from her hands and tossed it onto the back seat. "No more distractions," he said. Panic flared in her chest. She was running out of time. The car slowed as they pulled up to an abandoned construction site. Alex put the car in park and turned to face her. "I warned you, Olivia. You should have stayed out of it." Her pulse pounded, but she met his gaze. "You're scared," she said quietly. "That's why we're here, isn't it?" Alex's jaw clenched. "You think you know everything, don't you?" Before he could say more, the sound of screeching tires echoed through the empty lot. A second car skidded to a stop, headlights flooding the area. Olivia's heart leaped as the driver's door flew open. A man stepped out, her former editor, James. "Olivia," he called, "come here, now." Alex's entire body tensed. "What did you do?" Olivia didn't wait to answer. She flung open the car door and ran. Alex grabbed her wrist, but before he could pull her back, James raised his phone. "Let her go, or this goes to every major news station in the country." For the first time, she saw something in Alex's eyes she hadn't seen before. Defeat. His grip loosened. Olivia tore away and sprinted toward James. As soon as she reached him, he shoved his phone screen in front of Alex. I know everything, and now so will the world. Alex's face darkened. He took a step back, his hands balling into fists. But he didn't say a word. As James ushered Olivia into the car, she stole one last glance at Alex through the window. She had uncovered his secret, and now his perfect life was about to come crashing down. As James sped away from the construction site, Olivia sat in the passenger seat, her hands shaking. The rush of everything that had just happened made her feel lightheaded, but she knew it wasn't over yet. Alex was dangerous, and even though she had escaped, she wasn't safe. Not until the truth was out. James glanced at her. You okay? She nodded, but she wasn't sure if she meant it. Did you really get everything? James tightened his grip on the steering wheel. I got enough. Your message made me suspicious, so I did some digging. Alex's business ties are deeper than we thought. I found bank records, fake contracts, and even some names linked to missing persons cases. He paused. He's not just covering up shady deals, Olivia. He's silencing people. A chill ran down her spine. She had always suspected Alex was hiding something dark, but this was worse than she had imagined. She turned to James. We have to expose him. James gave a grim nod. Already in motion. I sent everything to my contacts at the major networks. They're verifying the evidence now. By morning, the world will know who Alex Carter really is. Olivia exhaled slowly, the weight on her chest finally lifting. She had spent years searching for the truth, exposing corruption, and chasing stories that mattered. This time, the story had almost cost her life, but now Alex would face the consequences. They drove in silence for a while before James spoke again. What are you going to do now? Olivia stared out the window, watching as the city lights grew brighter. Start over, she said softly. I thought I had found something real with Alex, but it was all a lie. I need time to figure out who I am outside of all this. James gave her a small smile. You're one of the best journalists I know. You'll find your way. By the time they reached her apartment, the first wave of news reports had started surfacing. Olivia's phone buzzed with notifications, articles exposing Alex's crimes, news anchors discussing the shocking scandal, and social media erupting with outrage. She sat on her couch, staring at the screen as Alex's face appeared on the news. The man she had married, the man she had once trusted, was now the center of one of the biggest scandals in the country. He had built an empire on lies, and now it was crumbling. She should have felt victorious, but instead all she felt was exhaustion. The next morning her phone rang. It was James. They arrested him, he said. It's over. Olivia closed her eyes, letting out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. It was really over. As she stepped onto her balcony, the sun rising over the city, she knew one thing for certain. She had escaped with her life, but she would never be the same. And maybe that was a good thing.